The ultra-rich stopped buying these 15 luxury brands in 2025, and the only people still chasing them are the middle class who don't realize they've already been left behind. That sounds harsh, but luxury has never been polite, because while most shoppers are still saving, flexing, and celebrating logo purchases like milestones, the wealthiest buyers in the world have quietly walked away. Same stores, same brands, same price tags, but a completely different reaction. No interest, no excitement, no desire. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The ultra-rich didn't stop buying luxury. They stopped buying these brands because they no longer signal status. They signal aspiration. Trying, noise. The exact opposite of what real wealth wants to project. In 2025, luxury lines were drawn very clearly. Some brands became uniforms for people climbing the ladder. Others remained trophies for people already at the top. And the difference isn't price, it's perception. In this video, we're breaking down 15 luxury brands the ultra-rich have abandoned this year, why they walked away, and how those same brands became magnets for middle-class buyers chasing outdated status symbols. This isn't about taste shaming, it's about understanding how power, money, and signaling actually work, so you don't end up flexing the wrong thing to the wrong people. Let's start the countdown. Number 15, Gucci. Gucci is the clearest example of how fast luxury status can flip. What was once a symbol of cultural power and creative dominance has quietly become a badge of aspiration, not a rival. In 2025, the ultra-rich didn't boycott Gucci, they simply stopped noticing it. For years, Gucci thrived on visibility, logos everywhere, bold patterns, constant collections, and that worked until it didn't. By 2025, Gucci felt unavoidable. Airports, outlets, Instagram, resale apps, the brand was no longer rare, it was routine. And for people who use luxury as a signal of distance from the crowd, routine is fatal. The wealthiest buyers don't want to wear what everyone recognizes instantly. They want ambiguity. Gucci offers none. When a brand becomes too easy to identify, it stops feeling elite and starts feeling performative. The ultra-rich read Gucci's maximalism not as confidence, but as effort. Meanwhile, Gucci's creative identity kept shifting. One season nostalgic, the next minimalist, then suddenly loud again. That instability matters at the top. Real wealth gravitates toward brands that feel anchored, not experimental for attention. So while middle-class buyers still view Gucci as making it, the ultra-rich view it as trying to. And that's the kiss of death in luxury. Gucci didn't lose craftsmanship, it lost positioning. And once a brand becomes aspirational instead of authoritative, the top tier quietly exits. And if Gucci became too loud to signal real power, the next brand became too common to signal anything at all. Number 14, Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton didn't fall out of favor because it lost prestige. It fell out of favor because it became infrastructure. By 2025, LV wasn't a flex anymore. It was a default. Everyone had it, everyone recognized it, everyone expected it, and that's exactly why the ultra-rich stopped buying it. When a luxury item becomes predictable, it stops signaling power and starts signaling participation. The monogram is the problem. It's too legible, too loud, too common. Ultra-wealthy buyers don't want strangers clocking their net worth from across the room. They want discretion, something that only insiders recognize. LV offers the opposite. There's also overexposure, too many collections, too many collaborations, too much noise. Louis Vuitton became a brand that's always talking, always releasing, always selling. And the richest people in the room don't buy from brands that chase attention, they buy from brands that wait. So while middle-class shoppers still see LV as the ultimate prize, the ultra-rich see it as mass luxury, a souvenir of wealth, not a signal of it. Louis Vuitton didn't lose relevance. It lost mystery. And number 13 shows what happens when a brand doesn't just lose mystery, it loses credibility with the people who used to define its status. Number 13, Balenciaga. Balenciaga didn't lose the ultra-rich because it was controversial. It lost them because controversy became predictable. What once felt dangerous, ironic, and culturally sharp slowly turned into a formula, and the wealthiest buyers hate formulas. By 2025, Balenciaga's entire identity relied on shock value that no longer shocked anyone. Oversized silhouettes, ironic pricing, deliberately ugly design. It all started to feel like a rerun. The ultra-rich don't buy luxury to feel confused or mocked. They buy it to feel assured. Balenciaga stopped providing that emotional payoff. There's also the embarrassment factor nobody likes to admit. Real wealth avoids brands that invite commentary. Balenciaga pieces sparked too many conversations, not admiration, but debate. And for people who value discretion above all else, that's a deal breaker. While middle-class buyers still viewed Balenciaga as edgy and rebellious, the ultra-rich saw a brand trying too hard to stay relevant, and trying is the one thing old money never does in public. By 2025, Balenciaga became a brand people recognized instantly, and recognition without respect is lethal in luxury. The richest buyers quietly exited, leaving the label to those still chasing provocation as a substitute for status. Balenciaga didn't fall apart. It aged out of relevance at the top, and if Balenciaga lost the ultra-rich by being too loud and chaotic, the next brand lost them by becoming too polished, too safe, and too obvious. Number 12. Prada. Prada's fall from the ultra-rich shopping list wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, and that's what made it dangerous. Prada used to represent intellectual luxury, fashion for people who didn't need explanation. But by 2025, the brand leaned heavily into trend participation, nylon revivals, seasonal it bags, logo accessories. Prada became present everywhere, all the time, and presence diluted prestige. The ultra-rich don't want to participate in trends. They want to outlast them. Prada's constant reinvention started feeling reactive rather than authoritative. When a brand appears to chase relevance, elite buyers lose confidence. There was also a saturation issue. Too many pieces, too many collections, too many visible Prada moments. Scarcity disappeared. And once scarcity disappears, urgency follows it out the door. Middle-class buyers still saw Prada as smart, fashionable, and status-worthy. But the ultra-rich began reading it differently. As fashionable, yes, but temporary. And temporary luxury is a contradiction. By 2025, Prada became a brand you buy during the climb, not after arrival. That shift alone was enough for the wealthiest buyers to disengage. Prada didn't lose respect. It lost permanence. And number 11 shows what happens when a brand doesn't just lose permanence, it loses authority over its own image entirely. Number 11, Dior. Dior didn't get abandoned by the ultra-rich because it became ugly, irrelevant, or poorly made. It got abandoned because it became too ceremonial. By 2025, Dior felt less like a fashion house and more like a luxury obligation. Something you were supposed to buy, not something you wanted to. For elite buyers, that emotional shift mattered. Dior collections became immaculate but safe, polished but predictable. Everything was beautiful, yet nothing felt urgent. And luxury without urgency is dead weight at the top. The ultra-rich don't buy perfection, they buy conviction. Another issue was Dior's uniform effect. In wealthy circles, too many people were wearing the same bags, the same sneakers, the same silhouettes. Dior stopped feeling like personal taste and started feeling like a dress code. When a brand becomes a uniform, powerful buyers rebel by opting out. There's also the insider fatigue factor. Dior leaned heavily into visibility, front row placements, influencer saturation, global consistency. To the middle class, that looks like success. To the ultra-rich, it looks like over-distribution. The brand no longer felt selective. So while aspirational shoppers still see Dior as a pinnacle, the ultra-rich quietly read it as predictable luxury, respectable but uninspiring. Dior didn't lose status publicly. It lost desire privately. And in elite circles, private decisions matter far more than public hype. And if Dior lost the ultra-rich by becoming too ceremonial and safe, the next brand lost them by becoming something even worse at the top, boring. Number 10, Burberry. Burberry's problem in 2025 wasn't visibility, it was identity confusion, and the ultra-rich have zero patience for brands that don't know who they are. For years, Burberry oscillated between heritage luxury and trend-chasing modernity. One season leaned toward British tradition, the next flirted with streetwear, then came quiet luxury, then logos again. That constant repositioning created uncertainty, and uncertainty repels real wealth. The ultra-rich want brands that feel settled. Burberry felt restless. There was also a status mismatch. Burberry's pricing climbed steadily, but its perception didn't climb with it. To wealthy buyers, the brand felt expensive without feeling elite. The check pattern, once iconic, became too legible, too familiar, too associated with mass recognition rather than insider taste. Middle-class shoppers still saw Burberry as elevated and prestigious, but the ultra-rich saw a brand stuck between worlds, not rare enough to feel exclusive, not bold enough to feel directional. By 2025, Burberry became optional, and optional brands don't survive at the top. Wealthy buyers simply redirected spending toward houses with clearer authority and quieter confidence. Burberry didn't fail loudly. It drifted. And in luxury, drifting is fatal. And number 9 shows what happens when a brand doesn't just drift. It becomes a symbol of trying too hard to stay relevant. Number 9, Versace. Versace didn't lose the ultra-rich because it stopped being bold. It lost them because bold stopped meaning powerful. By 2025, the aesthetic that once screamed confidence began to read as costume, loud, flashy, and frozen in time. The ultra-rich moved away quietly, not because Versace isn't expensive, but because it's too legible. Gold chains, Medusa logos, Baroque prints, you can spot Versace instantly. And instant recognition is exactly what real wealth avoids. The richest people don't want to announce themselves. They want to pass through rooms unnoticed by everyone except insiders. There's also a lifestyle mismatch. Versace designs for spectacle, events, entrances, attention. But modern ultra-wealthy life is private, mobile, and discreet. Loud glamour doesn't fit private jets, quiet dinners, or low-key power. So the brand became something you admire, but don't buy. Middle-class shoppers still see Versace as luxury. Big logos, big energy, big status. But the ultra-rich see it as outdated signaling, a throwback to an era when money needed to shout. Versace didn't lose relevance globally. It lost relevance at the very top. And if Versace fell out of favor for being too loud and theatrical, the next brand lost the ultra-rich by being something even worse, emotionally empty. Number 8. Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana's problem in 2025 wasn't design. It was trust. For years, the brand built its identity on Italian excess, family, tradition, and drama. But repeated controversies chipped away at something luxury depends on deeply: emotional safety. The ultra-rich don't buy from brands that attract scrutiny. They avoid risk, social, reputational, cultural. By 2025, wearing Dolce & Gabbana felt like making a statement whether you wanted to or not. And real wealth hates statements. It prefers neutrality, privacy, plausible deniability. There's also the exclusivity issue. Dolce & Gabbana flooded the market with logo-heavy pieces, collaborations, and hyper-visible collections. The brand became recognizable everywhere, and that erased its elite edge. Middle-class buyers still see D&G as bold, sexy, unapologetic luxury. But the ultra-rich see chaos, noise, unnecessary attention. Luxury at the top isn't about standing out, it's about belonging quietly. Dolce & Gabbana lost that privilege. And number 7 proves that when a brand loses trust at the top, price, heritage, and history can't save it. Number 7. Balmain. There's a moment when luxury crosses a line and turns into theater. Balmain crossed it, and the ultra-rich stepped back. Balmain built its modern image on visual dominance. Jackets with shoulders like armor, buttons that look ceremonial, silhouettes that demand attention before the wearer even speaks. For a while, that worked. It felt powerful, assertive, expensive. But by 2025, it started to feel like trying too hard to look powerful. And that's where elite buyers checked out. Real wealth doesn't dress for intimidation. It dresses for comfort, movement, and control. Balmain's designs began to feel rigid in a world where the ultra-rich live fluidly. Private flights, quiet dinners, low-key influence. The clothes looked impressive, but impractical for lives built on discretion. Then there's the celebrity effect. Balmain leaned heavily into spectacle. Red carpets, music tours, viral moments. To aspirational buyers, that's validation. To the ultra-rich, it's a warning sign. Brands that need applause usually don't belong in private rooms where real decisions are made. So while middle-class shoppers still see Balmain as boss energy, the ultra-rich see performance. Costume, visual noise. Balmain didn't become bad, it became obvious. And if Balmain lost the ultra-rich by shouting power too loudly, the next brand lost them by never quite knowing what it wanted to say at all. Number 6, Givenchy. Ask 10 wealthy buyers what Givenchy stands for today, and you'll get 10 different answers. That's the problem. Givenchy once had a clear voice, Parisian elegance with quiet edge. But over the years, the brand kept changing directions. Streetwear, logos, tailoring, youth culture, minimalism, often all at once. By 2025, the ultra-rich weren't offended by Givenchy. They were confused by it, and confusion is deadly at the top. Wealth gravitates towards certainty, brands that feel settled, confident, slightly indifferent to trends. Givenchy felt like it was still searching for itself, and elite buyers don't wait around for brands to figure things out. There was also a mismatch in energy. Givenchy leaned into visuals and ideas that aged quickly, graphics that felt loud, references that expired fast. For people whose status compounds over time, that kind of fashion feels disposable. Middle-class shoppers still saw Givenchy as edgy and modern, But the ultra-rich saw instability, a brand reacting instead of leading. So they walked away quietly, not out of protest, but out of disinterest. Givenchy didn't lose its heritage. It lost its anchor. And number 5 shows what happens when a brand doesn't just lose its anchor, it loses the respect of the very audience it once depended on most. Number 5, Fendi. At some point, Fendi stopped feeling like a destination and started feeling like a stop along the way. The ultra-rich noticed first. Fendi used to sit in a sweet spot, playful but prestigious, bold but controlled. The baguette was iconic. The craftsmanship was unquestioned. But by 2025, the brand had drifted into dangerous territory. It became too available, too easy to buy, too easy to recognize, too easy to replace. Real wealth doesn't like convenience and luxury. It likes friction, waiting, discovery. Fendi removed all of that. You could find it everywhere: malls, airports, online drops, constant seasonal refreshes. The magic thinned out. What once felt intentional started to feel industrial. Then there's the logo problem. The double F pattern became visual noise. It told strangers exactly what you were wearing, instantly. For middle-class buyers, that's the point. For the ultra-rich, it's a liability. They don't want to be read like billboards. So while aspirational shoppers still see Fendi as bold, fun, and undeniably luxury, the ultra-rich read it differently. Expensive, yes, but not discreet enough to justify its place at the top. Fendi didn't lose craftsmanship, it lost distance. And if Fendi slipped by becoming too easy to access, the next brand fell out of favor by becoming impossible to escape. Number 4, Moncler. Once upon a time, Moncler jackets quietly told you someone had money and taste. In 2025, they told you something else. This person shops where everyone else does. Moncler didn't lose the ultra-rich because it stopped being premium. It lost them because it became a uniform. Ski resorts, city streets, airports, cafes, the same silhouettes everywhere, in every price tier, on every type of buyer. When luxury turns into crowd control, elite buyers disappear. At the top, status comes from separation. Moncler collapsed that separation. Too many collaborations, too many versions, too many people wearing the same thing in slightly different colors. There's also the recognition issue. A Moncler jacket is instantly clockable, and the ultra-rich don't like being clocked. They prefer pieces that blend, not broadcast. Clothing that lets them move through spaces unnoticed. Middle-class shoppers still love Moncler because it feels practical, expensive, and socially approved. But the ultra-rich see congestion, overexposure, noise. Moncler didn't fall off because it failed. It fell off because it succeeded too loudly. And once a luxury brand becomes common, even perfect quality can't save it. And number 3 proves that when common becomes unavoidable, even the most famous names in fashion can lose their grip at the very top. Number 3, Saint Laurent. Picture this. You're at a private dinner in Paris, no phones on the table, no one trying to impress. And suddenly you realize something strange. Nobody is dressed like a rock star anymore. That's where Saint Laurent lost the ultra-rich. Saint Laurent built its modern empire on a very specific fantasy. Midnight energy, sharp tailoring, cigarettes at 2 a.m. confidence. For years, that look was power. But by 2025, that fantasy started to feel stuck, frozen in time, like a greatest hits album that never released anything new. Here's the issue the ultra-rich had. Saint Laurent stopped evolving with them. Its aesthetic stayed locked in youth, rebellion, and nightlife, while its wealthiest customers aged into quieter lives. Private homes replaced clubs, control replaced chaos, subtlety replaced edge. Saint Laurent never fully made that turn. Worse, the look became easy to copy. High street brands nailed the silhouette. Stylists recycled the same formula endlessly. Soon, Saint Laurent wasn't a signal. It was a shortcut, and the ultra-rich hate shortcuts. They want things that can't be replicated, even conceptually. To the middle class, Saint Laurent still screams taste, danger, luxury. To the ultra-rich, it whispers something else: repetition, predictability, a brand trapped in a phase it refuses to outgrow. Saint Laurent didn't fail, it plateaued. And when luxury stops climbing, the people at the top don't wait around. They step over it. And number 2 shows what happens when a brand doesn't just plateau, it actively reminds the ultra-rich why they hate being treated like customers instead of insiders. Number 2, Chanel. There was a moment in 2025 when even loyal Chanel clients started asking a question they'd never asked before. Why does this feel so cold? Chanel didn't lose the ultra-rich because it became unfashionable. It lost them because the experience stopped feeling human. Buying Chanel turned into a process. Appointments, rigid rules, silent judgment, endless price hikes. all wrapped in the assumption that customers should feel grateful just to participate. And the ultra-rich don't participate, they choose. For years, Chanel relied on the power of legacy, tweed, quilting, the double C mythology. But by 2025, that mythology started to feel transactional. The prices climbed aggressively, yet the emotional reward shrank. Bags felt mass-produced, stores felt identical. The magic became procedural. Here's what really pushed the ultra-rich away. Chanel forgot how to flirt. Luxury at the top is about seduction, not control. When a brand starts acting like it's doing you a favor by selling to you, the wealthiest clients quietly walk out and never announce it. Middle-class buyers still chase Chanel as the ultimate trophy, but the ultra-rich now read it as ceremonial luxury, something you're expected to want, not something that excites you. Chanel didn't collapse, it hardened. And when luxury hardens, it stops inspiring loyalty, even among those who can afford anything. And number one shows what happens when a brand doesn't just harden, it completely loses touch with how real power wants to feel. Number one, Rolex. This might be the most uncomfortable truth on the list. The ultra-rich didn't stop buying Rolex because it isn't good. They stopped buying it because it became a scoreboard for people who want to look rich. By 2025, Rolex wasn't a watch. It was a signal everyone understood instantly. Submariner, Daytona, GMT, no mystery, no ambiguity, just a very loud message. I want you to know I can afford this. And that's exactly why the ultra-rich stepped away. At the top, status isn't about being recognized. It's about being unreadable. Rolex became too legible, too discussed, too obsessed over. Waiting lists turned into public sport. Resale prices became dinner table conversation. The watch stopped being personal and became competitive. And real wealth hates competition it didn't choose. Middle-class buyers still see Rolex as the ultimate win, the proof you've arrived. But the ultra-rich see a brand hijacked by aspiration, speculation, and noise, something worn to be noticed, not owned to be enjoyed. That's why the wealthiest buyers quietly move toward watches nobody asks about, pieces that don't start conversations, because the wrong conversations are exhausting. Rolex didn't lose prestige, it lost discretion. And in 2025, discretion became the most expensive luxury of all. So what's the real takeaway here? Luxury didn't disappear in 2025, it split. One version stayed loud, obvious, and aspirational. The other went quiet, selective, and almost invisible. And the ultra-rich followed the silence. These brands didn't suddenly become bad. They became signals for the wrong audience. And in a world where status is about distance, not display, that's a fatal mistake. If this changed how you see luxury, hit like and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. And drop a comment. Which brand surprised you most? And which one do you think is next? See you in the next one.